everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins. This is my good buddy Brendan, and welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're finding us for the very first time, or you are a returning viewer and have not yet done so, please click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So we've got a few different things we want to talk about tonight, most of which is the Fyter Fest Night 2 for AEW Dynamite. We're going to be getting into that here in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we did not have an NXT review here on the channel last night. We'll get into that as to reasons why. But before we get into all of that other stuff, we've got some breaking news a little bit in the world of professional wrestling. A couple topics regarding CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, as he could be known as of now. The reports are going around that CM Punk is apparently in negotiations to return to the world of pro wrestling. No news exactly yet as to which company he may side with. But the front runner, according to reports right now, is AEW. But, you know, money talks too. Personally, I think, and we're going to get Brendan's opinion on this as well. I think that if CM Punk goes back to WWE, he's going to lose a lot of respect with a lot of individuals, because Zelina Vega was one who most recently came out and was like, I wish wrestling had unions, and basically talked like she'd never go back to WWE because of the way they treated her. And of course, that's where she went. CM Punk, obviously, for many, many years has talked about how he, especially in his famous pipe bomb promo, about how that company he don't believe is run the best way and things like that. So if people were to get on her, if he were to go back to WWE, I got a feeling he'd just get blasted on the internet.
For sure.
But, and a lot of people want to talk about right now that CM Punk, at his age, what could he possibly offer a company? I understand those concerns, but you got to think of it this way, too. I read online, apparently, CM Punk is 3 years younger than WWE's current WWE champion, Bobby Lashley, and 2 years younger than John Cena. So, technically, he is still at an age where I think they said he was 42 years old. So he is at an age he still could make an impact wherever he may go. It's not going to be long term. It's going to be a short run, most likely, for a few years or whatever, max, most likely. But then again, they're bringing back Goldberg on WWE, and he's 50. So never say never. But
but nobody said that was a smart move either.
Right. And most people are, at least a lot of smart fans are thinking, why are you bringing back Goldberg? Why are you bringing back Cena, these part-timers? But especially in putting them in title matches. But, if you saw my Monday Night Raw review, you know how livid I got on Monday Night Raw. We're going to, discuss a little bit about it when we talk about why we didn't have NXT review. But CM Punk's case, if AEW signs him, they're going to get the criticisms again of, for one, signing too many wrestlers, and we're going to get a little bit more of that in the AEW review. I think it would be a person, for at least for now, would definitely move the needle a little bit, get the attention. But where they slot him in, I don't know. Somebody like Punk, you think maybe they would use him in a title picture.
Yeah, but that guy, I had my reservations about that too.
Yeah. And I can see why. It's one of those deals where we'll just have to see what they do if that is the case. It's not going to be like Sting or Christian Cage, but Punk has got such a high name value right now just because of who he was 10 years ago. And even he said in interviews and stuff that if he were to come back, everybody's going to be expecting 2011 Phil Brooks. But they're not going to get that. They would get 2021 Phil Brooks. So he might not even be at that level. But it's just name value. And if that's the case, if he could go at all, he'd probably have to get some ring rust knocked off and things like that. I could see AEW or WWE put him in the title picture. But we'll just have to see what they do. But the other breaking news story I wanted to kind of get into before we got into these reviews was the fact that apparently, according to Ringside News on Twitter, again, take it for what you will. This may or may not be confirmed yet, but they are apparently alleging that Daniel Bryan, a.k.a. Bryan Danielson, has already signed with All Elite Wrestling. Do you think this would be a good move for Daniel Bryan or the company?
Yes. And, look. Daniel Bryan is a hell of a hand.
Right.
Hell of a wrestler. Great. But does he change his style of wrestling? Simply because we know his situation.
With his injuries and stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, history.
So I don't want it to be one of those, he shows up and then 2 weeks later he's out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
He looked fine his last run at WWE.
He did.
For sure.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But he did wrestle a more reserved
For
in a
him,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's partly because he was made to do so
Yeah,
because they
what
didn't
happens
want
if
him.
you take the reins off at AEW and maybe
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm
yeah, I
saying?
hear
Like
you.
that's my concern.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I wouldn't love to see him there
Mhm.
because that'd be a lie. Because I would. It's just I just don't want him to get hurt.
And they're going to continue to, no matter what AEW does, and don't get me wrong, they are doing a lot of this. Again, we're going to get into this a little bit more in the review, but they are signing a lot and a lot and a lot of people. Um,
Yes.
but I think a lot of people tend to forget, too. A lot of these people who in the past have shown up on AEW have not always been signed by AEW. They've working with, Impact or other organizations,
Hmm.
and they've just come in and been on AEW Dynamite's show. So their entire roster may not be as big as many people perceive it to be, but they are bringing in a lot of names, no doubt about it. Even a couple more tonight, which we're going to get into.
Yeah. Which I was like, bruh.
Yeah, but I mean, don't actually about three new people that I've never seen before. Well,
Okay, so I, when we get to that, because I need to ask you a question because I seen one of them. I'm like, is that who I think it is? But I wasn't sure, so I'm
okay,
gonna just wait.
yeah, we're gonna whether I know or not is another question. But if
Hmm.
Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson signs with AEW, I think he would probably be more in ring ready than CM Punk would be at this point, no doubt about it, because he's wrestled within the last year. Punk
Hmm.
has not wrestled in 7 years, so in that case, I think they would be, and the matches that both those guys could have with some of the AEW's roster would be very good. And
Hmm.
of course, there's some guys in WWE if they would have good matches with as well if they were to book those matches. That's the problem with WWE. Seems like some of their
Yeah.
underutilized talent they're not letting come to the
Which
forefront.
there's a couple of the underutilized
Yeah,
talent in WWE. I mean, look,
especially on the
it's
NXT
going.
brand for sure. But even on the
Well,
main roster, there's some guys like Ricochet I'd love to see a lot more out of. I mean, that dude
hmm
looked great at Money in the Bank.
I
Um,
know, which is a damn shame
yeah,
because Ricochet is still Jackson's favorite,
yeah,
one of his favorite wrestlers,
yeah.
and it's a damn shame that you don't get to see him in the capacity that he should be in. And I say should, but again, I'm not a booker, I'm not a promoter. I can't tell you what to do with your money. That's your money. That's your show. You do you.
Right.
But from a fan standpoint, it's disheartening because I've seen Ricochet Indies. I've seen Ricochet when he was on Lucha Underground,
Oh wow, really? Okay.
and it was so dope. He was so dope. And then we seen him in New Japan. When he got signed to NXT, that's when a lot of other people got to see Ricochet, and he was fucking phenomenal in
Yeah, yeah,
NXT.
absolutely he was.
And then he gets to the main roster. They had a couple good weeks. Him and Aleister Black both had a couple
Hmm.
of good weeks.
Sometimes you don't even get that. So, as we
And then,
saw on
but what
Monday,
happened? Yeah. Talk about shit.
we'll talk about that for a minute. But yeah, so I think if either one of those guys get signed, it'll be a good signing for AEW if they get both, especially. I think it will draw eyes to the product that they've not gotten yet. I mean, Malachi Black was a good signing. I think Andrade was a good signing. And
I
they've
just
got a lot of great.
don't.
We had some returns tonight too. So,
Yeah,
um,
but I just don't want it to be what we said in the beginning.
mhm.
You know, don't start picking up all WWE scraps. Like, don't do that.
I wouldn't call those guys scraps. But I see what you're saying. Assigning all their old talent that they've cut or whatever, yeah,
Yeah,
or the
like
contracts have run out for sure.
because again, it's what WCW did,
Yeah,
which ultimately is what helped bring WCW down.
yeah.
Because you had at that point way too many big names.
The only difference is
Way.
the WWE back then when WCW did that, WWE was making new stars. They're not
Oh
doing that
yeah,
now. So
which is
I don't know how that would play out today, but
yeah. I mean,
we'll
you're 100
see.
percent right on that one.
And like we said, when they're getting another hour of television, which could expand to two,
Mhm.
so they may be just fine when it comes to roster size. But I agree, I understand everybody, the complaints of them signing WWE guys, but it's one of those things too. It's like WWE signs Ring of Honor guys, Impact guys.
Mhm.
It's not
But
like
they had
nobody ever says don't sign AJ Styles because he's from New Japan or Impact.
no,
They
hell
don't
no.
say that crap, but they always say that for AEW. So
It's
a lot of people
it's
say because
not like
AEW said they wouldn't do it, but
yeah.
it'd be silly
And
not
it's
to sign
also
some of
too,
these
like
guys.
I don't want it to be a thing where you have all these big names, and I get in some capacity they do uh try to make stars out of the guys that they have too. But just like in the case, and it was like the whole situation with Moro and Lance. Now I know what happened with Lance tonight. That's a different situation because that's something totally different. Because that wasn't an AEW thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well,
that wasn't...
true. But it did happen on AEW television, so it gives him that
It
AEW
did.
bump. But
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that aspect, it was like he was on this trajectory, and then Moro shows up, and then that whole shit got derailed. And it was like, I get in one sense that you what you had here, and then you were like, well, let's go this way. But it was like they built him up, and then Moro just shows up.
Who's Moro? Who are you talking about?
Rusev.
Oh, Miro.
Moro.
I was like, what? Okay, we're on the same page now. Yes, Miro.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I was thinking of Moro Ranallo.
Yeah, the Moro Ranallo is what I thought you were talking about. I'm like, wait, where are we going?
Yeah, I don't know why I was.
It's all good. We're on the same page now. But yeah,
Miro.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. The Redeemer, God's favorite champion.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I love what he's doing. Don't get me wrong. I love what he's doing.
Now. But yeah.
Yeah, now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, you get what I'm saying, though? Like, you had... And I've seen... I remember the other last week, you know what...
We'll get into it. All right. Yeah. Well, with that being said, too, let's get into our thoughts of at least on NXT from this week. The reason we did not have a review of this show, because if you've seen my Monday Night Raw rant that I did on this episode or on this channel, after what they did with Lance Archer, or not Lance Archer, with Karrion Kross, after what they did with Karrion Kross in the Jeff Hardy match, again, I get the argument Jeff Hardy is a legend, but the whole argument with me is Karrion Kross got beat by Jeff Hardy, who for the last 6 months to a year have done nothing but losing to Jinder Mahal, Miz, Veer on main event. So he's not done anything, and you bring up the NXT World Champion, you pin him clean. Well, not clean. A babyface cheated by putting his feet on the ropes to get the leverage, by the way. And then he covers the NXT World Champion right there, 1, 2, 3. So you effectively bury the entire NXT brand in my eyes. By doing so, it tells everybody who watches Raw and SmackDown and don't watch NXT that there's no sense in watching NXT because they mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. That title, they just beat their world champion with a guy who never wins on the main roster anymore.
So I could see if it was your champion versus their champion.
Yeah. Or if Kross had lost the belt a week ago to Gargano, and you brought up Kross as a singles guy, a call up, and then he loses, okay, fine. But the fact that it's not even so much the streak that he lost for 18 months on NXT that he was undefeated. That's not the biggest issue to me. To me, it's the fact he was the world champion, and you buried every single superstar on NXT by beating him. You basically told everybody on Raw and SmackDown that those NXT guys, none of them could beat even our jobbers on the main roster. That's where I had a problem.
What was the point in having Jeff win? Like, what is the benefit?
At his point in his career, he didn't. I mean, they're trying to rebuild him a little bit with his old music. What's old is new again, I guess.
But that's not.
But for what?
Yeah. Is he gonna have another run at the title? No.
Now, obviously, in my opinion, where this is going, Kross will probably show up again on Raw and probably have a feud with Hardy. And most likely, in the end, he'll probably squash Hardy. Or I hope that's how they book it.
He should have squashed Hardy from the jump.
But even so, the damage is done now.
Think about this shit. When Kevin Owens was NXT champion, he showed up to Raw to challenge fucking John Cena.
But they didn't.
And he beat John Cena.
Yeah, and they didn't wrestle the first night. So even if he would have lost at the match they had against Cena while he was NXT World Champion, they didn't beat him night one. They didn't change his character. They didn't do all this stuff. And like you said, Kevin Owens beat John Cena. So that was the proper way to do that.
Why the fuck would you have Karrion Kross, a dude has been dominant as shit in NXT, lose to Jeff Hardy? Like I said, if it was Bobby Lashley... Right.
But even then, and at least that would have been the WWE champion beat the NXT champion. Okay, I get it a little more. But Jeff Hardy, who's done nothing for months, now yes, former world champion, Hall of Famer, absolutely future Hall of Famer. But notwithstanding, but yeah, I mean, it's just after seeing that,
Karrion Kross needed the rub more than Jeff Hardy needed anything.
Well, not only
else.
that, if you were asking why would you do that, the report I saw, again, whether or not this is true or not, take it for what you will. Apparently, they were trying to teach Karrion Kross a lesson, from what I understand, and probably NXT as well, because people don't know this. NXT last night was pre-taped. It was pre-taped a week ago. Mm-hmm. So no matter what they did with Kross on Monday Night Raw, Triple H had no option to even respond to this, at least until next week's taping. So no matter, Vince knew that when they buried Karrion Kross here, that Triple H was not going to be able to respond and not be able to. I mean, Samoa Joe mentions that Kross was on Raw last week. But that was because he was like on a pre-show match or whatever, doing tryout stuff. So he mentions that in his promo at the beginning of the show. But they knew that Hunter wasn't going to be able to do anything about this. So when they did it, they did it in that, knowing that beforehand. Plus, I mean, just. They changed Kross so badly, with taking away Scarlett, taking away all of his entrance stuff. It all stemmed, from what I understood, from the Adam Cole Kross promo they did a few weeks back before their match, I think, where Adam Cole said, without the WWE company funding and the backing behind you, you're nothing. What I am is a good wrestler when the bell started. And apparently Kross called Adam Cole a tiny man in that promo. I don't know if Adam Cole was livid about that or if that was a bit of a shoot or what it was, but apparently the rumor was that they were trying to teach Kross a lesson in humility. Now, if that's the case, punish him differently. You don't need to punish him on the main roster and then destroy the entire NXT brand in the process. Yeah. Which, to me, it was like, I told you, I've come to this realization from listening to other YouTubers talk about this and stuff too. The reason why NXT does not get the ratings that they should, because they are the best show out of the three. In my opinion, hands down, it's no questions asked by a country mile. The reason why they don't get the viewers that Raw and SmackDown do, though, not only because it's not been around as long, but because Vince and Raw and SmackDown and Bruce Pritchard, all these guys who books these shows, have told their audience on the main roster that NXT does not matter. Every time an NXT person is called up, they're usually buried with either the night one, ask Keith Lee. I mean, yes, you've had some NXT success, obviously. Finn Balor won the Universal Championship. Asuka has won belts and things like that. But it's taken them a while, and they've changed those characters. Yeah, Sasha Banks. Obviously, there has been some. But ask Walter at Survivor Series how that went.
Oh, my God.
He got beat first and quickly. Mm-hmm. It's the same Karrion Kross thing. And I don't know if he was the NXT UK champion at that point. I don't think he was. But either way, he was dominant in the NXT UK brand. He might have been, but either so, they buried him right away. Yep. Keith Lee, they destroyed from the get-go by changing it. Now, granted, you could say there's reasons why they couldn't use his music and things like that, but Keith Lee got buried night one, and we saw what happened to him, and he got buried again this week, in my opinion, against Bobby Lashley, even though that was the champion. But it was basically a glorified squash match. Bobby destroyed him. You could have booked Keith Lee against Humberto Carrillo or, Bobby Lashley against somebody else. You didn't have to bury Keith Lee in the process. People want to say, well, someone had to lose. Okay, but Bobby didn't have to have the match against Keith Lee. They book who wrestles each other. Do you all understand that?
I mean, you could have made it a competitive match, and if Keith Lee would have lost, he would have lost. But you didn't have to make it a squash match.
Right. I mean, he got a little offense early on, but that was about it. The rest of the time it was a squash. But it's things like that. So when it came to watching NXT last night, I know we kind of went full circle here, but the reason why we didn't have a review is because I started to watch NXT, and not only was I tired from a long day at work, I think we both were from that. But when I got through the Samoa Joe promo, and I got through part of the first match, and I just felt to myself, why am I watching NXT? Because none of it matters, because as soon as you call up one of these guys, I mean, that's Shinsuke Nakamura, how they ruined him. Now, granted, Shinsuke may be happy doing what they're doing, but when you do things like that where you change them, we don't care. Why should we want to watch NXT? It deflated me so much that I didn't want to even do the review. I didn't want to watch the rest, and I did watch the rest of NXT. Brandon watched the majority of it, and we are still going to talk about it a little bit here, but based on the report that I'm going to read from. But it's just, when you deflate an entire fan base like that, this is why people are turning away in droves when it comes to Raw, SmackDown. All the numbers were up this week. Great. Why? Because we got audiences back. Eventually, that honeymoon phase is going to drop. And not only that, Raw went up a little bit, but it still didn't crack 2 million viewers. It's still poor when it comes to ratings. They're hitting all-time lows still, even though they gone up about 4,000 viewers from last week, 400,000 viewers. But yeah, it,
it's just
it's bad all the way
yeah.
around. So that's why we didn't have NXT. We'll still review NXT most likely because we do still enjoy it. It's just one of those deals where after what they did, it just took it out of us. And there was a lot of other people in the community who was doing the same thing. It just
But
felt
I
like,
am curious how they're gonna bounce back. I
yeah,
do,
I don't
and
know
I
how they're going to
want
fix
NXT.
Karrion Kross. I really don't.
I don't either.
It sounds
I don't
like
know.
Samoa Joe is going to be taking the belt off of him. So let's get into the NXT review a little bit. Just kind of some overall thoughts. I mean, again, we don't even need to break down everything. We want to get into AEW review. That's what this video is for. But yeah, I mean, I guess Bobby Fish defeated Roderick Strong
That was a good match.
and Tyler Rust. So,
Yeah,
with
that was
Kushida.
good.
Kushida made the pinfall on Tyler Rust, I believe it was.
Yes,
So at least Roderick Strong didn't take the loss. And
it wasn't a pinfall. He made the motherfucker tap.
oh, it wasn't tap out. You're right. So he won. So the first thing I noticed was the champion didn't lose.
No.
I mean, how hard is this? I mean, yeah. I mean, yes, Diamond Mine lost at their third week of being here.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that's a little soon, but
Not really. It was still a strong showing.
and it wasn't Roger Strong who took the loss. So his
No,
henchman basically took the loss.
pretty much.
And it was a good match, so nothing wrong with that either.
It was a solid match.
But
to
the
be honest
biggest
with
thing
you.
that stuck out to me was the NXT Cruiserweight Champion won, didn't lose.
Yeah,
So
he's the one who got the submission.
God forbid we let champions win. They announced NXT TakeOver will be on August 22nd, the night after SummerSlam, so that's role reversal. It'll be on a Sunday night. We'll probably end up doing our SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver review the same night. It'll probably come out on that Monday morning, just so you're all aware a little bit ahead of time. Samoa Joe, like we said, cut a promo at the beginning of the show. Basically,
It was a damn good
yeah,
promo.
yeah. And Samoa Joe looked great here, talking about how Karrion Kross needs to be brought under control. And of course, William Regal tried to say you can't do that. Our agreement was, you wouldn't touch the towel. And he's like, no, I said I wouldn't touch them if I wasn't provoked. I'm provoked. So this was good. And then Regal's trying to say, well, he touched an official. You were playing the referee. Joe goes, semantics, Regal. And so I love that too. So yeah, so Joe wasn't going to be denied here. I thought that was great.
No, Joe was hot, boy.
Yeah, this will be a fun match when it does happen. But based on whether booking Karrion and probably bringing it up to the main roster, like I said, it looks like Samoa Joe's going to win the belt. And if that's the case, as the enforcer, is he going to vacate that title once he wins it? Assuming that's for the title, I guess. But we'll have to see what they do. Frankie Monet defeated JC Jane. Doesn't sound like there's a whole lot to talk about there. Mandy Rose was at ringside. So, again, she's no longer on the main roster. She's back on NXT. Good to see her. She was
a trade for somebody. When I
heard, Naomi, I know, got moved to SmackDown very quietly. They moved her over there with Jay and Jimmy and Roman. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if she's going to end up maybe not winning the women's title right away or anything, but she's probably going to be with the family, I would assume, at some point over there, which, again, you can kind of grow the family, grow the stable a little bit. I got no problem with that. So, yeah, we had Kyle O'Reilly had a beef with Austin Theory, which
that was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, which led to a match. Kyle O'Reilly defeated Austin Theory for what looks like it was a pretty good match as well.
It was a damn good match.
Yeah, you said it was one I need to go back and watch, didn't it? Yeah, so we'll do that at some point for sure. Yeah. So Wade Barrett sat down with an interview with Bronson Reed as well.
Mm-hmm. It was a good little interview. Nothing,
nothing to write home about.
Too major. He didn't sound like he was leaving though.
No, well, not right now since they moved the draft back to October. I'd say that's probably.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, maybe by then. But yeah, hopefully he'll stay down there as well. Legado del Fantasma kind of countered the Hit Row, Cypher celebration they had about a week or so ago, and they had a Mariachi Madness musical,
but they didn't play anything because Fantasmo said that those people didn't deserve it.
Oh, okay. So it just kind of boiled down to a bit of a standoff between the two groups.
Not really a standoff.
I'm guessing. Like I said, I didn't see the show.
So what happened was Hit Row, they come out, and like I said, I don't know what it is about Hit Row, because like when I first heard about him, I'm like, doesn't really, But then slowly and surely, Top Dollar had single-handedly won me over here.
Right.
And the way he cuts his promos is a rap battle. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever watched, and I've watched a lot of rap battles. And
8 Mile, baby. Yeah.
Yes, something along those lines.
Yeah.
it's unique, it's different, and I like it. I like his approach to it. Of cutting a promo, and he says some things in Spanish. Something he has written on his arm, and then like it was dope. Uh they come down to the ring, and they eventually get in the ring, and there's a little bit of a standoff, but then Top Dollar and what's the other dude's name?
Oh, I don't know. It's not Escobar.
No.
Escobar would be with Swerve. Uh, Adonis? Is that his name?
Yeah,
Most likely.
they jump on the other two, and Escobar tries to hit Swerve. Swerve ducks it, catches him. They exchange some blows. He knocks Escobar down, sees a guitar in the corner.
Which, interestingly enough, is 2 nights in a row, Monday Night Raw and NXT, using musical instruments as weapons. So,
Escobar grabs the guitar at some point. He goes to hit Swerve, and the chick,
B-Fab, yeah.
B-Fat, she snatches the guitar from him. Swerve drops him, picks up the guitar, goes to hit Escobar. Escobar rolls out. One of his Phantasmal. I can't remember. I know him as Shima Zion. That is not his name.
Right.
He rolls in the ring and he's like, "Yo, let's calm down." And fucking Swerve drops him and then cracks him across the back with the guitar. They roll out.
Right.
Then Hit Row's standing there talking trash or whatever. So I'm assuming we're gonna have a 6-man tag.
Or at least at some point a North American title match between Swerve Scott
that's
and
gonna
Escobar
happen.
is going to happen. That'll be a good match for sure. Whenever they do pull the trigger on that.
For sure.
The Way was bickering amongst themselves. Austin Theory had enough. He said their family was falling apart. He left them to argue amongst themselves. So some dissension amongst the ranks there.
So, what's her name says something about, yeah, if Austin Theory wants to kiss Loomis, then he should be able to kiss Loomis or something. And everybody kind of looks at her. She goes, what?
Yeah, no. Wow. All right, that took a swerve.
No, we're here to support you. I mean, if you like them or whatever, they're trying to, because I think what it is Johnny is trying. They're trying to turn the whole group around,
Right.
Because Johnny makes the statement to,
Theory? I don't know.
yes,
Okay. I'm trying to think who was in the room. I don't know.
What?
Apparently, I need to go watch this show.
I don't know what is wrong with me.
You're fine.
When Theory was getting ready for his match with O'Reilly, when O'Reilly challenged him or whatever, Gargano says, "Look, you're gonna do this by yourself. We're not gonna come on to help you. I wrestled Karrion's match, Cross all by myself with no help. So he goes, you got to do this on your own." And it was a dope match though.
Right. We also had another first round match in the NXT Breakout Tournament. Odyssey Jones defeated Andre Chase. Apparently he used
Andre Chase.
Yeah, he apparently used a modified Big Boss Man slam to score the pinfall. So he's basically a Mark Henry type wrestler, and unstoppable.
But he's very agile,
right?
Quick on his feet, dude. Like seriously, watching him move, because he's a big effing dude, but he's light on his feet,
right? Much like Bronson Reed, a lot of these big guys nowadays are very agile for their size.
And like I said, there was one screw up, but I'm telling you, if you wouldn't have known what they were trying to do, it wasn't a screw up.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they made it look like, all right, no, that shit was supposed to happen. And then they just rolled. Nobody got hung up. They just rolled with it.
Okay, well, that's good. They moved on. Good.
Yeah. It was a good match.
A lot of times you see scripts like this, they try to repeat the spot. It's
like,
no. Just go on.
They didn't.
Just
they
don't.
moved on to the next spot. He changed what he was going to do. So originally he was supposed to catch him, drop him on the announcer table. When he jumped, like I said, he stepped back to catch him as it was just momentum.
Right.
So he catch him, but he was already stepping backwards.
Right.
So when they hit, they just kind of both fell.
Okay.
So he gets up. The dude goes to hit him. He blocks the hit or he eats the hit. One of the two picks him up, just drops him on the announce table.
Nice.
And then they just moved on. You know what I mean? They went to the next. It was dope. He did. Chase did this moonsault, and it was clean, dude. It was a moonsault, and he hits him and he bumps off the moonsault. Dude, it was it was fucking clean. It was a clean moonsault.
I'll have to go back and watch the show for sure.
That match was, it really was.
It sounds like it had some good wrestling on the show. That's all.
It made me a fan of Odyssey Jones and Chase, but more so Odyssey.
Good deal. I think he's one of the odds-on favorites too.
Yeah, I think him and Duke
Hudson. Yeah, most likely. Yeah. After this, well, during this entire show, we'll get into this a little bit here, but we'll get into it more toward the main event segment. I guess Samoa Joe was constantly throughout the night looking for Karrion Kross, who was yet to show up to the building. And I guess there was one spot here where I think he confronted his driver, and I guess the driver said he had dropped him off at the front of the building or something like that. So, building to that. Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan cut a promo on Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, challenging them to a tag match next week. So, and that show for the next few weeks, NXT will be on Sci-Fi starting next Tuesday due to the Olympics being on USA Network. So, keep that in mind if you're looking into watching the more
that match is going to be violent.
That'll be good. That'll be a good match. I thought also they were doing probably the best stuff of this night for me, from what I did see, was the $1 Million Championship with the LA Knight and Cameron Grimes as his butler. Some good comedy here with Cameron Grimes getting the bags out of the car for LA Knight when Drake Maverick walked up, and that led to a match between him and LA Knight. Maverick pinned LA Knight with a roll-up after Knight was distracted by Grimes. I didn't know that was the finish.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if I like the champion losing again with a roll-up, but
it's a belt that doesn't matter, but to those two,
I understand. And from what I like what happened after the match, though, was the fact that I guess I think Grimes lays the boots to him basically and tells Grimes, or LA Knight lays the boots to him, and tells Grimes to punch him, and Grimes didn't want to do it, but he basically said, "We had a deal. You said you'd hold up your end of the bargain." So Grimes ended up reluctantly punching Drake Maverick in the face after warning him, trying to get him to leave before all this took place. But I liked how we were talking about how one of these days LA Knight is going to turn the tables on Grimes, who looked to be enjoying being his butler, even did it earlier on in the night, but now he's found a little bit of a place to maybe he could use Grimes to his advantage.
You were 100% right on that, and like it's so messed up because, like I said before, you're gonna have that moment where Grimes snaps.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, what I predicted was Grimes was going to continue to be successful with this, and LA Knight would want him away, like say, "I want out of this deal," and Grimes would be like, "No, we had a deal," but. This works too.
I think what it'll be is Grimes will say he wants out.
Yeah,
because
eventually.
He doesn't want it.
Especially if Knight keeps using him like this.
And I think that's so smart. I think that is great.
Yeah, I've still got my nitpicks about the champion, but
again, it's only a belt that matters to those two.
Agreed. I understand that. But yeah, I still have my nitpicks. But I understand your reasoning, and if that's the case, it's a little less egregious. But if this ends up being a title that's defended like the North American title, but if right now it's like the FTW Championship in AEW, it's not yet. It seems like FTW Championship in AEW is starting to get a little bit more prestigious, but we'll see where they take all this with that for sure. But I like this segment, absolutely. They ran down next week's show. Then we had NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez defeating Xia Li. The only thing I
did not see this.
Yeah, I didn't see this either, but there was a spot in the match apparently where Raquel Gonzalez apparently, injured Xia Li from the looks of things. They stopped the match for a few moments. A lot of people thought this might have been a spot where they were spoofing Xia Li's last match when she accidentally knocked out Mercedes Martinez. Or this could have been a receipt where Raquel Gonzalez maybe hit her on purpose. I don't know. But I doubt that was the case, most likely. But she appeared to be okay, and I think they went right to the finish after that. Gonzalez hit her with a chokeslam power bomb finish, and she covered Xia Li for the 3 count. So the champion retains here. So hopefully Xia Li's okay. From what all reports are, she was doing better. So hopefully she's fine. Then at the very end we had Samoa Joe, who called out Karrion Kross. Samoa Joe stormed to the ring, calling out Kross. "Come out and play," he said. Joe yelled on the house mic, "Where, oh, where is my young champion?" he yelled. Joe vowed there would be a reckoning, and Joe wanted to kick Kross's ass. Kross appeared on the video screen to say it is not the same world, meaning NXT, that Joe remembers. Kross said this was his world now, and Kross said he is the new beginning. That's also a New Japan show, if I remember correctly, the New Beginning name. Kross went on to say he is the way of the future. The way is Gargano's stable, and the supposed future was beaten in under 2 minutes on Raw via roll-up. So, yeah, I highly doubt that's the case. Again, they've got to address this once they get to another taping. Karrion Kross held up the NXT Championship belt, and he said it means he can go anywhere he wants, but he can also hurt anyone he wants. Not on Raw. The camera panned down to reveal Regal laid out in the parking lot.
That's shitty because, that was pre-taped. So like,
Yeah, so that they knew it was pre-taped, like I said. So they took it to, they did it at the appropriate time, so they couldn't do anything with Cross to recovery, which is crappy and petty of the main roster creative team. Cross left Regal laid out as he drove away in his car. Before leaving Cross, he asked who provoked who here. Joe ran outside to chase after Cross, but Cross was speeding away, and Joe screamed out in anger as the show faded to black. So yeah, it's just now Regal's probably going to be behind Samoa Joe, I would say, after this beatdown. But yeah, we'll see where they go with this, and we spent enough time on NXT as it is. But yeah, it sounds like a good show. But overall,
it was just
no. I didn't care after Raw, so that's the bottom line of this.
Which sucks, like I said, because this was pre-taped. So like all this, him losing, all that shit took place after this was done.
Yeah. So it's a shame. Hopefully Vince and Bruce Pritchard and all these guys will start to get on the NXT bandwagon here. They're part of your company. Support them. Use them. Don't just look at them as the redheaded stepchildren of the brand or whatever. Triple H is setting up these great characters for you. All you got to do is take the ball and run with it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to bury them. Just I don't know. Anyway, that's all I'll say about that. So let's move on to the main portion of this show, 35 minutes into it. Sorry it took so long to get to the main topic here, but AEW Dynamite, Fyter Fest Night 2, I thought was a pretty good show top to bottom. There was one match I thought wasn't as good as some of the others, but the show opened up with Chris Jericho taking on his first labor here, which is Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears could use a chair, but Chris Jericho could not. That was the stipulation. MJF joined commentary for this match. Yeah, let's see here. It basically came down to totally distracted the official as Spears was frantically tapping out. That's when Sammy Guevara ran out and said totally packing, but Spears grabbed a chair and whacked Jericho with it. He then hit the C4, but Jericho kicked out. I thought Jericho was actually going to lose this, so it was a good near fall. The first time the C4 was kicked out of in AEW, apparently. Spears set up to hit a chair-assisted C4, but Jericho escaped and hit the Judas effect for the win. Good finish. Definitely popped the crowd early on. But yeah, I think most of us expected Jericho to win this, but I thought they executed it pretty well, all things considered. The small distraction notwithstanding, but a small distraction I think is just going to be inevitable at this point. But it really didn't affect the match too badly, I don't think. So that's not too horrible. MJF grabbed a mic, and this is where it got interesting. It said that Jericho's not allowed to have anyone come out and help him anymore in the rest of the labors. Otherwise, he would not get MJF at the end of this. Next week, Jericho will have a no disqualification match against an indie wrestler named Nick Gage for labor number 2.
Here's the thing.
He got a major reaction from the crowd here, but yeah.
I'm not okay with this.
Oh, yeah,
I know who Nick Gage is.
I hear he's brutal.
He's also the dude that almost killed David Arquette.
Oh yeah. I remember that. That's the way the promo Jim JF said he stabbed a guy in the jugular. Let's hope that don't happen. But didn't he also had a pizza cutter in his hand? I've heard he's used that on foreheads. Did he or did he not use that on Kenny Omega at one point? I think as well. So yeah, this guy is definitely very brutal, and this is no DQ. This could be a bloodbath next week on Fight for the Fallen on Dynamite. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, Jericho's got his work coming out for him. But he's got a little bit of a trick up his sleeve as well, which we'll find out a little bit later on. Brief Miro video played. The most notable part is that he was wearing a Bloodsport jacket, but other than that, he really didn't say a whole lot. Other than the fact he's looking forward to his next challenger, which I believe they said would be either at Fight for the Fallen or at their homecoming show at Daly's place. So we'll see in a couple weeks. Doc Gallows defeated Frankie Kazarian. This wasn't nothing super exciting to write home about, I didn't think, in my opinion. I thought it was an okay match, nothing wrong with it. Yeah, Anderson got involved, got up on the apron. The distraction was enough for Gallows to hit a right hand and a set-out tree slam for the win. So again, distraction finish. His tag team partner helped him. It's just, again, at least it was only one guy instead of the whole elite this time, but no bucks on this show.
Still one of this. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It's still a distraction finish. So if we're going to kill WWE about it, we're going to say the same about AEW. After the match, Anderson attacked, and the Good Brothers hit Kazarian with the Magic Killer. That's when Kenny Omega's music played, and he walked out with Don Callis. He said that attacking Kazarian was a message. This is what happens when you mess with the Elite. Omega said that Kazarian had been a thorn in their side for months. The Elite Hunter has become the Elite Hunted. He basically botched that line. It sounded like he forgot his line, and Callis had to, remind him what it was. So that was not a good delivery on Omega's part for sure. And that's not a hard line to remember. It's easy. A hunter becomes a hunted. That's the way it is. Hangman Page's music hit. He came out with another good pop with a half drinking beer in hand, and he was spilled it the whole way down. It was falling out everywhere. Callis pointed out that the Elite have the 401 numbers advantage and asked if Page was stupid or drunk. He kind of looked drunk. I'm not going to lie. He's kind of when he walked out. Page struck, but was immediately taken out by the Good Brothers, the Dark Order, and as soon as he struck, by the way, Kenny Omega rolled out of the ring. Wanted nothing to do with Adam Page. Typical heel tactic here. The Dark Order ran out to even out the odds, and Page had a buckshot lariat on Carl Anderson, so they were going to be doing this 5-on-5 match to set up probably Hangman versus Omega. I believe they said it was at Fight for the Fallen next week, so we're going to get that match and see how they handle. Now it looks like not only we talked about how we were concerned whether or not they were going to pin Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks being champions. Now the Good Brothers are also the Impact Tag Team champions. So if it's all five are going to have to take losses. So they only made it worse.
So now if you beat any of the Good Brothers, you essentially bury Impact and their tag champions.
Yeah, what we said about Raw, they're kind of, I know.
You can't do this thing where you take out all of the Dark Order and leave Page, and then Page systematically
runs through all five.
There.
Oh my God! I don't know how they're going to get it. I don't know what they're going to do here, because either way, it's going to come off. Yeah, like we said. And I'm the AEW fan here, but this is hard.
What do you do? So
I don't know.
Does Page lose the whole thing? So then you just bury him. What do you do?
Either that or he's going to have to come up with another way to get another shot. But the stipulation is he doesn't get a shot. So I don't know how you pull that unless they pull some sort of, some shenanigans to where Tony Khan says, no, he's in the match. Or I don't know. I don't know. But it sounds like these champions are taking losses next week. So
you
not
bury
good.
TNA's champions.
Well,
You're not even your promotion. Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until we just started to review this because I saw that they won. Too. But yeah.
If Kenny loses because he's still TNA champion as well.
I don't know, man. That's going to be interesting to see what they do there. That's on paper. I don't like it. So I'm going to be honest and I'll be fair. Not their best moment if that's what happens. So we'll see what they do. Fingers crossed. A Team Taz video played from earlier in the day where Taz said he was proud of Ricky Starks for winning the FTW championship. Starks said that they'd have a championship celebration the following week, so Brian Cage is going to destroy that. That's no doubt.
Yeah.
So that's where that's going. Darby Allin with Sting defeated Wheeler Yuta with Orange Cassidy. Another good match for Wheeler Yuta here, I thought, in my opinion. Darby Allin and him had a good it wasn't like stellar, but it was solid. It was pretty good, all things considered. Allen pulled Yuta off the ropes and hit a suplex. Sting and Orange faced off on the outside of the ring, which this was interesting. Did you see this, or did you miss it? I know you just got home about the time when this was over.
So I caught the end of this.
Okay, so
it was after Darby already pinned him. I caught everything that happened after.
Okay, so you didn't see this. Orange Cassidy and Sting are on the outside. They kind of go face to face a little bit, and Orange does his whole puts his hands in the pockets thing, right? He's going to do the little shin kicks. Sting starts it. Sting shins kicks Orange. Oh! And then they go back and forth shin kicking each other, the whole Orange Cassidy thing. Sting, they both back up, and then they both kind of toe tap at the end, and then Sting does this instead of his, how he normally does. Sting was doing the Orange Cassidy gimmick, which I ain't gonna lie, seeing Sting do this was funny. But this distracted Darby Allin, believe it or not. So Darby looked like a goof here for a minute. But Yuta tried to take advantage with the cradle, but Allin hit him with a stunner and the coffin drop for a quick win. So at least Darby did recover and didn't lose due to the distraction. But I
can see why that would distract.
Yeah, well, Sting's doing, he didn't have his hands in the pockets, but he was still doing the shin kicks, and of course the crowd's going.
Look over and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, like seriously, come on, man. But yeah, so that part was funny, no doubt about it. But The Blade attacked Orange after the match with the brass knuckles.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They're supposed to wrestle later in the night, so he knocked him out with the brass knuckles to set up that match and furthering that feud. Video package aired recapping Jon Moxley and Lance Archer's previous matches. Archer said he knocked Moxley's ass out, and Moxley said one way or another it's over. So yeah, interesting. We also had
1 second.
Okay, I'll go ahead. AEW Women's Championship. Britt Baker wrestled Nyla Rose. To me, this was the worst match of the night. Nyla Rose and Britt Baker, I don't know if they weren't on tonight or they just didn't have good chemistry, whatever it might have been. But this was Britt Baker's first title defense, and the crowd adores her. But the action and layout here were not real good. That may have been part of it too. Whatever it was, they just weren't flowing well. There were some botched spots. Nyla Rose is such a big woman anyway. It's hard for. It's kind of like Nia Jax. Whenever she gets into ring with smaller women, it's hard to maneuver. And Nyla Rose and Britt Baker just didn't have good chemistry here for whatever reason. It wasn't. It
was weird.
Yeah, I mean. I get you got to have some woman on the roster who's going to take a loss to Britt Baker in her first defense. That's basically what this was.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, this was not a good match. This was the worst match on the show. And nothing against. I don't think it's mostly Britt, and I don't want to lay blame on Nyla or anything like that. But I just feel like Britt's better than this, and it may just be like I said, the size difference, whatever plays a factor in it. It wasn't laid out well. I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, it just didn't go well. It was very sloppy. There'll be better nights, hopefully, for both women. But personally, though, just a personal preference, I don't really. It's nothing against Nyla. I just don't care to see her on AEW personally. She just doesn't do it for me as a wrestling fan. I don't know what it is. But
I get it.
I like Britt, but again, those who like her, absolutely, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, so. Then we had, let's see here, Rose went for a beast bomb, but Baker countered and floated over for the lockjaw, forcing Rose to submit in the end. So at least she got the clean victory. So there's nothing wrong with that part of it. Tony Schiavone moderated a press conference between FTR and Santana Ortiz. Harwood was insistent that they were the same. Ortiz said that FTR is just a pit stop on the way to the tag team gold. Santana produced photos from his childhood and upbringing, talking about his mother. Harwood said that the only thing left to do was show up and beat their ass. They will wrestle next week. So again, this fight for the following card is actually looking pretty legit at this point. I ain't going to lie. Some of these matches look good. Andrade El Idolo came out to the ring and had a interview with Tony Schiavone. A lot of Japanese, a lot of Mexican being spoke here, a lot of Spanish and things like that. So nothing wrong with that. Unlike some other companies, they ain't shying away from the fact that some of these wrestlers can't speak English very well. He has a surprise for everyone, and Shani introduced Andrade's new executive consultant, Chavo Guerrero. So we get one half of Los Guerreros here.
Hear me out.
Okay.
So I was cooking at the time.
Right.
And I see Chavo. I know it's Chavo. For whatever reason, Miranda looks at me. She goes, "Who's that?" And I went, Eddie Guerrero. And I went, "Time out."
Is that what she said, Eddie Guerrero?
No, I said Eddie.
Oh, wait. I got you. Whoops.
I don't know why Eddie came out of my mouth.
Because they were tag champs for so long. I think it's just ingrained in you, know, the family.
And I went, no. That's Chavo.
Right. But it was good to see him. Shoot, he looked like he hadn't really aged a day. I'm going to say
that's
that.
What I was about to say. He still looks.
He looks like he could wrestle.
Man.
Not only that, now that you got Chavo here, I'm assuming Vicky's still a part of this, but we've not seen Vicky with Andrade in multiple weeks now.
And I think that's because they're putting her with Nyla.
Maybe.
So I think Chavo
could be the replacement. If they may have dropped the Vicky angle, I don't know. But with Chavo involved, Vicky may still be his manager, so to speak. But they also had Alex Abrahantes with him to kind of translate and stuff like that. So that's good. I think he's a better fit for Andrade than Vicky is. And Chavo could do some translating as well. So I think that could be a really good fit. Plus, he can learn from Chavo, no doubt about it. Chavo said this is the place to be. With all due respect, he doesn't see anybody with as much talent as Andrade. That brought out the Death Triangle, the return of Pac and Rey Fenix. So we're glad to see that.
That was dope.
Yeah, absolutely. Loud Cerro Miedo chant broke out. They heard Andrade bring up their name last week. The Death Triangle hides from nobody, and Andrade thanked them for coming. Andrade said his words in Spanish. Chavo translated for Pac. And the Death Triangle is all talented, and they should be holding championships. If they want to change that, listen to Andrade. Why do you work for Pac, he said. Why not work for Andrade El Idolo? Pac said that Penta and Phoenix won't work for him. The Death Triangle are family, and Phoenix said they were the real faces of Latinos. Penta said something, and Alex translated. Penta says, why would we want to join a group with you when you're not even on our level? So, yeah, this is going to be a good feud. I don't know if they're going to do Andrade against all three of these guys, or if Andrade is going to have some new team members joining him, or how this is going to work. But I'm excited to see whatever's going to happen in this, because all 4 of these guys are absolutely talented.
Here's the thing, and I said it before. Matter of fact, Damon's the one that said it too. No more factions.
We are getting a little carried away, absolutely, and this is maybe just yet another. But yeah, I don't know what to say at this point. We know that AEW has got all these talents they're signing. We've got, Chavo now, and of course we had, Malachi Black and Andrade. Now we have Nick Gage coming in.
I'm out. I think the Nick Gage thing is a one-off.
Well, it probably is. It's most likely like a lot of those other one-offs we've seen against Moxley and stuff. No doubt, you're probably right. But Eddie Kingston was like that at one point, and he's now there. So never say never.
Yeah, but I like Eddie more than Nick.
Yeah, probably.
You'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll see it next week. But it sounds like he's got one note, from what I understand. And
he's a CZW. Never mind. I'm not about to get into this right now.
We'll talk about it next week during their match. But yes, agreed. It may be a one.
So in the match with when Marco Stunt came out and he got stomped out.
Oh, previously early in the night that they did before the show. Yeah.
The one dude that was going up the ramp, is that Maven?
I don't think so.
The bald-headed one. It looked like him, and I was like,
who was with Private Party? No, I think that was one of the hybrid. Well, there was Private Party, one of the hybrid, who's also part of Matt Hardy's group, and they were going to have a 6-way next week.
Well, he looks like Maven, like, and I was like,
I don't think Maven wrestles anymore. I don't think, but who knows? But
that's why I looked. I legitimately was looking at my TV screen like.
I'd have to see who you're talking about exactly, but yeah, most likely it was one of the Hardy family office or whatever we're calling it. So yeah, but speaking of which, they showed that stuff, and Jurassic Express come out to save Marco Stunt, who was getting beat down by them, and Christian Cage had their back. Which again, Christian Cage kind of coming to Jungle Boy, his aid a little bit. I think eventually we could possibly even get a Christian Cage heel turn on Jungle Boy, but we'll see where that goes.
Oh man, that'd be dope.
We'll see. Obviously, Christian's going to be working to push Jungle Boy a little bit here, I think. But yes, next week we're getting a 6-man tag.
Are we going to see more of Luchasaurus?
Well, next week we are in the 6-man, but after that, who knows? Like we've talked, we kind of want to see him maybe break it on his own, but that leaves Marco Stunt out to dry. So I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But never say never. The dude has some great skills. Even I think he had a dark match the other night where he did this. He kind of popped this guy up in the air, flipped him around, and did an inverted GTS on the flip back down. That looked like it sucked, but well executed by Luchasaurus. So, yeah, he's got some talent. I'd love to see more of him, but maybe watch Dark.
I would love to see that fucking move.
If Raw keeps going the same way they're going, we may start reviewing Dark. Just kidding.
That's fine.
But all I know is that show is better, in my opinion. It's more well booked. But yeah. QT Marshall with Alex Marvez said next week he'd apologize for dumping a protein shake over Tony Schiavone's head. Yeah, that won't go well for Tony Schiavone.
He'll dump another one over.
Yeah, probably a big gulp or something. Yeah, it'll be a lot bigger.
Big gulp dumped on you? A lot of liquid.
That's a lot of liquid. Orange Cassidy versus the Blade with the Bunny. This basically just boiled down to Bunny distracted the official and tossed the brass knucks to Blade, but Orange avoided a strike and hit the Orange Punch for the win. This feud is not really, float my boat, but yeah, it's there to fill some TV time. Orange, but it's not good. It's not great.
Orange Cassidy literally fought for your heavyweight championship.
Yeah,
and now
you can say
feud
that
with fucking Blade. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. There was also a spot where Orange went for an outside, splash, and I guess the Blade pulled Chris Statlander in the way, so she took a bump by Orange hitting her. And of course, Orange kind of returned the favor by pushing the Blade into the Bunny a little bit later on. So the women got involved a little bit here. But yeah, hopefully this is over with now. I mean, nothing against these guys or anything like that. But yeah, it just doesn't really seem like it's going anywhere. It's just kind of,
it's not holding any weight.
That's all. Other than that, the wrestling's fine in it. Nothing wrong with that.
The wrestling was fine, but it was just, what's the point of this?
Yeah, it's just kind of there. After the match, Orange grabbed the brass knucks and hit another Orange Punch on Blade. So hopefully, again, emphatically knocking him out again. So hopefully this is it. But we'll see where they go. Yeah. Chris Jericho was backstage and was asked about next week's no disqualification match against Nick Gage. This was cool. Jericho said he'd bring the most violent and demented version of himself next week. He had his back to the camera with spikes coming out of his jacket. So if anybody knows Jericho's history, they knew what was about to happen here. He turns around and he's wearing the Painmaker makeup, and he turned around and revealed that the Painmaker will be wrestling Nick Gage next week. So we're going to get his New Japan gimmick against Nick Gage next week. So at least Jericho is going to bring his, you might say, his Cactus Jack of his Mick Foley to the ring here. So we're going to get the sadistic Jericho. So this is going to be brutal. So we'll see. But next week's lineup for AEW Fight for the Fallen is the no disqualification match. Chris Jericho as the Painmaker versus Nick Gage. FTR versus Santana Ortiz. This could be a number 1 contendership match. We'll see how they do it. It doesn't say that, but we'll see based on the rankings. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express versus Private Party and Helico. IWGP US Heavyweight Championship, the winner of Moxley and Archer against Hikuleo, which is apparently Haku Ming, his son. So that will be interesting to see. Never seen him.
Wait, no lie.
That's
you
what
say Ming's kid?
They said King Haku's son is what they said on commentary. So Hikuleo is Haku's boy. So he looked a lot like him.
Wasn't he in New Japan? He was part of the group
they said he was. He's part of the Bullet Club, they said.
Yeah, he's with his brother.
Yeah, he was at ringside for this show, and we see him toward the end of the night at the end after the main event. But yeah, so we're going to actually see what this kid's got. So again, a young star, so give him that.
Is it Tamatonga or Tangaloa who is Haku's kid? Or are they both Haku's kids?
They might be, but they said this guy here was for sure. I don't know about all New Japan's roster for sure, but yeah.
No, because like they're part of the whole NOI. They're not part of the whole NOI family, I think.
You guess as good as mine on that one, pal.
I don't know, man, because like there's so many different avenues with that whole thing. I know Joe isn't
lots
related
of Samoans in the wrestling business, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But so we'll see Hikuleo next week. Elimination tag match next week with the Elite against the Adam Page and Dark Order. If Adam Page and Dark Order win, they get tag title shot and a world title shot. If not, they get none of it. So we'll see. Again, Tony Khan will announce a major new live event next week. So that'll be interesting to see what he's talking about. I don't know if he means like a new pay-per-view in a rotation or what, but we'll see what he's got up his sleeve. And in 2 weeks at AEW Homecoming at Daly's Place on August 4th, Cody Rhodes will face Malachi Black for free on Dynamite. So that's interesting. It'll be a great match.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I told you I didn't want them to do what they're going to do with this whole thing and make it this whole light and dark thing where Cody Rhodes looks like the savior and Malachi is the destroyer.
Well, one's wearing white, one's wearing black. Yeah.
Even in the fight still.
Mm-hmm. He's promo. In the dark. He's in the light. Cody's in the light.
And I'm like, don't do.
I don't think we got to worry too much, though, because I think darkness is going to prevail. But we'll see what they do. If Cody wins this match, I'm going to be pretty mad because it's like, no, this would be the whole carrying. It's not, he's not like Malachi Black's a champion, but I don't like when you bring up new stars and beat them in their first match. So I don't think Cody's going to do that, but he's got that reputation a little bit amongst fans. So let's hope that don't happen, but we'll see what they do. I think it'll be a good match, though.
I'm sure it'll be a good match.
The story, it's not going to have a ton of build anyway because they've only got next week to build it, and that's the go-home for that match. Yeah. So they've had a couple weeks, and really you don't need a whole lot. It's just going to be a way to showcase Malachi Black, I think, and that's all you really need. But hopefully whoever Malachi Black's next feud is, even if it's Cody going into All Out, hopefully they get a proper long-term build, so we'll see where they go with both guys. For the main event, we had an IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship Texas Death Match, Lance Archer versus Jon Moxley. This was your typical hardcore, blood, you name it. We may get another one next week with, Jericho and Nick Gage, but this to me was a lot of fun, very brutal, very violent. There's a fork stabbing going on in the middle of this as well. We had all sorts of stuff, I mean, it's just brutal. You have to go watch it for sure. Yeah, but Moxley made it toward the end. Made it back in at an 8 count. Apparently, if you get counted out at count of 10, the title changes hands in a Texas Death Match. I wasn't aware. But he countered with a running attack with a big lariat followed by a paradigm shift. Archer popped up at 4 and flipped off Moxley, but Moxley stabbed at Archer's head with the fork once again. He produced barbed wire boards and propped them up on tables on the outside. Moxley went for the paradigm shift through the boards and tables. He hit a paradigm shift on the outside on concrete earlier, by the way, which bloodied up Lance Archer. Yeah. Let's see. Archer fought out using the fork, and apparently the boards and tables is what Moxley won the title on originally. So a little bit of a callback here. So Archer fought out using the fork and chokeslammed Moxley through the tables, which Moxley stuck to the barbed wire when he hit it, and that allowed Lance Archer to win by a 10 count because Moxley couldn't get up. And Lance Archer wins his second IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship here. Like you mentioned, though, it's not an AEW title.
No.
But I did feel like, because we've talked about how Lance Archer's just kind of been floating about, not really getting any relevance. He lost some, TNT title matches and things like that, got beat by Cody. It just kind of been there. But this, at least on AEW Dynamite's main event, got him a big win. A title belt, which they do feature on the show at least at times, and he's going to have a main event match next week.
Featured as in New Japan doesn't have a US-based show.
Yeah, you're right. But at least he is going to be on Dynamite carrying their title and getting some television time. And he won a big match here.
With right now with the TNA title and shit. Like, it's on AEW television, but you know what I mean?
I was just looking at it more from Archer got a big win in the main event, and all right, he beat Moxley, which is no small task. So it does get him over a little bit more in AEW. But yeah, you're not wrong about the title part. Absolutely. After the match, we had Lance Archer and Hikuleo. They faced off in the ring. Hikuleo dwarfed Archer, which is saying something. So yeah, this is an awesome visual. Let's go to set up their U.S. Heavyweight Championship match next week on the Fight for the Fallen. So again.
Oh, and I looked it up. Hikuleo is, he's a sibling of Tangaloa and Tamatonga, which are all Haku's kids.
Gotcha. So, all right.
That's why they're all so damn big, massive, and scary.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you may get an appearance by Haku at some point. They bringing in some of these older talents.
Listen, you bring G.O.D. over. I'm down. Girls of Destiny. To AEW. That'd be dope.
That would be great.
Second favorite tag team in the world.
Yeah.
G.O.D. for sure.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love it. And hopefully this Hikuleo kid has got something too. I've never seen him wrestle. Never even heard of him before tonight.
Nah. Wait, I said third, because Briscoe's, then Phoenix and Penta, and then God for sure, hands down. Yep.
Right on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And like I mentioned earlier, no Young Bucks on this show tonight, which I thought was a nice break for a change.
Yeah.
I know, and there's been some weeks they've not been on there too. That's one thing AEW does do well, where they don't have everybody on every single week, which keeps people. It don't get them overexposed, and it doesn't make you sick of them too much. But the Young Bucks have been on there a lot lately, so it's kind of nice to see them off for 1 week, which is fine. But they'll be back next week for the 5-on-5, most likely, and we'll see them then. But yeah, I thought overall this was a decent show. Not their best Dynamite I've ever seen, but
it wasn't bad either.
It wasn't bad. It was pretty solid for the most part. So definitely better than Raw. It was probably on par with NXT. I don't know. One thing we ought to maybe start doing on this show is what show we think was better, NXT or AEW.
Right, yeah. We'll rate the two shows.
Because usually Raw is not anywhere close. But NXT and AEW a lot of times are similar, so that could be something.
Yeah, they are.
This week,
I wouldn't want to mind. I wouldn't want to mind. Try that again.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't mind, honestly, if we did one NXT UK show. Just one.
Yeah, I got no problem with that some night. Maybe not tomorrow because we kind of had some plans.
No, we got lots of stuff.
But some Thursday, we can maybe do an NXT UK. And it's only an hour. It's not terrible. And, doing that. And then sometimes we record our podcast that night. But, yeah, we can maybe work that in at some point because they got some good wrestling over there, too. But we'll discuss. Yeah, we might do that here on the show. So look out for that. So that will do it for our AEW Fyter Fest Night 2, NXT this week, and of course, going over the breaking news of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him right now. So the real question here is, guys, what do you guys think about all these shows and these breaking news announcements that may be coming down the line here? And what did you think of Monday Night Raw? What did you think of the Karrion Kross thing? Let us know. Comment down below, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Goodbye.
Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right. I swear to God that I can drop you, bro. Yeah, I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable.